for the life of me, I do not understand why some of these UFC fighters have such big fan bases. And it's not on merit. It's not because they're these amazing fighters. They're really just overrated. And there's some fighters who are severely underrated and don't have big fan bases. Maybe because they're not good on the mic, but they're great fighters. And today in this video, I'm going to be making a vid about the top 10 most overrated fighters. And you could take it how you want. You could think that I'm a hater, I'm hating on these guys, but at the end of the day, I just don't think the hype of these guys match the talent level. And to me, it's just, there's huge disparities in their talent and then their fan bases. They don't match, you know, with the exception of maybe Kamzat and Ilya. These other guys don't deserve to be as hyped up as they are. And I'll go through some old legends in this tier list and some newer guys, but overall I just think these 10 guys should not be as highly regarded in the sport of UFC as they are. Starting at number 10, I got Brian Ortega. And yeah, Brian Ortega's been in the UFC a minute now, I think like 10 years, since 2015. And his overall record in the UFC is 8-4, which isn't horrible, all things considered. And especially considering the fact that his 4 losses are against the best guys in the featherweight division. But you know, he came into the division very hot. You know, he started 6-0, and he beat Moicano, he beat Swanson, Frankie Edgar, Clay Guida, and there's a lot of promise behind, you know, Brian Ortega being the next champ in that division. But it felt like as soon as he beat those older legends and started fighting the new guys who were Holloway, Volk, Yair, he lost to those guys. And he beat Yair in the rematch, and that was good on him because he fucked himself up like right before while they're calling the fight and doing each corner, Bruce Buffer. You just see fucking Brian Ortega jumping up and down, he rolls his ankle, but he still got that win, so good on him. But yeah, it's just, I feel like overall, he's 2-4 in his last 6, you know? He beat Yair in the rematch, and he beat Korean Zombie, who only had a couple fights left, and is, you know, he beats these older legends. But when it comes to the guys who are young, like I think if you put him in against, he just lost to Diego Lopez. I think if you put him in against those younger guys like Diego Lopez, Movzar, Arnold Allen, he's gonna lose every day. And I think overall, he didn't reach the levels we all thought he would, because he came into the UFC 6-0, beating all these legends, and you know, as soon as he fought the guys who were younger, he just couldn't compete. So I got him overall at 10. I do think he's a good fighter though. At 9, I got Nate Diaz. And you gotta think, Nate Diaz has never been a champion. He's a great fighter. He's an entertaining fighter. I'm not gonna say great fighter. And stylistically, he's not, you know, the best fighter there is, especially in that lightweight division when he's fighting in it. But overall, if you look at his record in the UFC, he's 15-11. Like that's not a record to be really proud of. You know, he's beaten some great guys, you know. You got to give it to him, but he's been in the UFC forever. I think he's officially retired, and he has been for the last couple of years. But overall, he's like, he started in 2007. He had like some no-name fights up until 2009 where he faced Clay Guida, and then he lost in a split decision fight. And I recently watched that back, and like all Nate Diaz fights, it's entertaining, you know. And Clay Guida is a legend. But whenever he fought the best there was at that time, it's like he never stepped up to the occasion. So he lost to Clay Guida. In 2011, he went on a little run where he beat Donald Cerrone and then Jim Miller. And that set him up to fight for the title against Benson Henderson in 2012. And then he lost, unanimous decision. Pretty sure it was a unanimous decision. And then ever since then, he just went 5-5. And you could say he should have retired after the Benson fight, but it's kind of good he stuck around because he built his fan base, and he got the Conor fights, and those were huge for his fan base. Like that really grew him to a different level. Everyone liked Nate Diaz, you know, he was great at talking shit, good on the mic, good at the Ultimate Fighter. That's what brought him into the UFC. But overall, he's just like a journeyman. Like he fought, and he never really showed aspirations to fight for the title after losing to Benson Henderson. You know, it's been rough for Nate Diaz. He went 5-5, and his only wins were against Conor, Pettis, and Ferguson. And Ferguson was washed at that point. I think he was already on a 4-fight losing streak. He beat Pettis, and then he beat Conor. And he had lost to Conor also. So, overall, it's rough. Because I know he lost to Conor, he lost to Masvidal, he lost to Leon Edwards. And he had Leon Edwards hurt in that last round. But it's like typical Nate Diaz. Like, he'd rather just be cocky and point at it. I don't know. He's like a showman. He's like a true showman. And I get why people like him, but as a fighter, no. I don't think he deserves to be regarded as one of the best fighters there are. He's not. And that's why I have him at number 9 at the list of overrated fighters. At number 8, I got Carlos Sober. And, the future will tell how good this kid really is. He's young. He has a lot of promise. He's 8-1 in the UFC. I know he had that KO win over Menifield, which was his only KO win in the UFC. His other wins are kind of boring. Like, he had the Jan Blachowicz fight most recently, and that was a boring ass fight. And at the end of the day, he should have won that fight. I had it split. It could have gone either way, but Jan Blachowicz is like 42 years old, and he's already fought the best. And it's like, this was his last chance to prove he could beat the new generation, and he did a good job, like he tried, but yeah, it's just Ober narrowly slipped away with the win. He had beat Ozdemir right before that, and he's 8-1 in the UFC, so you can't really say he's not doing what he's supposed to. It's just, I don't see him, stacking up well against the guys in front of him. That light heavyweight division, they've got some good fighters. I think even people like Jamal Hill, Khalil Roundtree, both of those guys I think beat him. I think he doesn't beat Yuri. I don't think he beats Ankalaev, and I don't think he beats Pereira. So I think he's got a ways to go. I think if the UFC is desperate for a title fight for Ankalaev, they could shove Carlos Ulberg in there, especially since Yuri declined since he has school, and Pereira said he needs more time to relax. And so he's in the title conversation, but I just feel like overall he's going to get humbled once he fights one of these guys who are younger and, top guys like Yuri or like the guys I mentioned, bro. I feel like they all pose way more of a threat than a 42 Jan Blachowicz. So it'll be interesting to see what he does. That's why I have him at a lower number in the list, because at the end of the day, he still has a lot of time in his career to evolve. So he's not too overrated, but I feel like people hype him up as they hype him up over Ankalaev, which I don't think is the case. I don't think he beats Ankalaev. I don't think he beats anybody I mentioned, and yeah, I think he's a bit overrated. At number 7, I got Mario Bautista. And Mario Bautista is 9-2 in the UFC, and overall he's a good fighter. He's not entertaining by any means. I recently watched the Jose Aldo fight back, and now I'm 100% certain he lost that fight. I didn't think he won the fight when I watched it, but watching it back, I know he didn't win that fight. And yeah, I don't know. When you go through his UFC career, his first fight in the UFC was against Corey Sandhagen. So you got to give him credit for taking a Corey fight, even though he probably didn't have an option. And he got subbed in the first round against Corey. And then later on, he got KO'd by Trevin Jones. So those were his 2 losses. And then since the Trevin Jones loss, he went 7-0. And he did win against Blackshear and Simone. And now I guess Aldo. But even the Blackshear and Simone wins, they weren't anything too impressive. They weren't. I feel like if he fights some of the guys who are ranked above him, or even Song Yadong, right now he's set to go against Patchy Mix, who's a submission artist from the Bellator division, and I have no idea, bro. I don't know how that's gonna go. I think it's gonna be a boring fight, because Patchy Mix isn't the most exciting fighter. He could get you in good submissions, but I don't know, man. It's every time you see a Bellator fighter come into a UFC fight, I root against them. It's it doesn't matter if you're number 1 in a different league. It doesn't transfer over to the UFC. The UFC is where the best are. So I have no idea, bro. I kind of want to see Patchy Mix win and just Mario Bautista get humbled, but at the same time, I want to see Mario Bautista get humbled by a guy who's like Song Yadong, or I think he even loses to Chito Vera. I think he loses to a lot of guys, not to mention Peter Yan, Umar, Sean, Murad. All those guys beat him. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what happens with Bautista, but overall I definitely think he's overrated. at number 6, I got Peyton Talbot. And I think everybody was, curious what this kid was going to do. He came into the UFC with, I think, 2 KOs and 1 submission. And overall, he's 3-1. He had that last fight. And it was rough, like seeing him lose to Barcelos the way he did. It was like the ultimate test, because we only see how good Peyton Talbot is against no-names. It's like those guys he fought before Barcelos were no-names, and Barcelos has been against Umar, has been against Kyler Phillips, and he lost to those guys, but he's tested. And it was rough seeing Peyton go out like that, because he had so much promise. And that was the most boring fight and the most underwhelming performance by Peyton. It showed he has no ground game at all. He was just getting ragdolled by Barcelos the whole fucking fight. And yeah, it wasn't even a competition, bro. Barcelos just showed his ground game is 10x Peyton's ground game. So I feel like Peyton needs a lot of work to get to where he wants to be. And I feel like there's a lot of hype around this kid. And he kind of underdelivered, and I feel like he was feeling himself too much, and he's kind of one-dimensional. Like, his striking's really good, but his ground game isn't shit. It's kind of like Sean O'Malley. But since Sean O'Malley, I believe, has been working on his ground game, and I think he's going to give a much better performance against Merab in the rematch. We'll see about Peyton. We'll see if he gets another fight that's a guy that's right around the top 15 like Barcelos, and see how he does. And at number 5, a guy I just mentioned, Chito Vera. I got Chito Vera at number 5, and I think people forget how long he's been in the UFC. Like, he's been in the UFC since 2014, and his overall record isn't anything great. It's 15-9, which is, yeah, it's kind of abysmal. It's really not good. He's never been a champ, and if we go through his record here, from 2014 to about 2020, he really didn't fight anybody of note. Just no names, and I get he's building himself up, but took a couple losses, and then in 2020 he fights Song Yadong, his first real test, and he loses. And then he fights Sean O'Malley, and like, we all know he didn't win that. Sean O'Malley was injured, and he got that win, but it wasn't really a win. And then he fights Jose Aldo and loses. So it was kind of rough. And then I think 2021 a flip kind of switched to where he got a little better, and then he went on like a 4-5 win streak. They were all older guys. Like, there was Davey Grant, and then there's Frankie Edgar, Rob Font, and Dominic Cruz. All guys who are legends, but older. So you can't really stack up those wins like they're amazing wins. They're good wins, but it's hard to say if those wins are as impressive as beating like a Song Yadong, a Peter Yan, a Corey Sandhagen. Like, they're just not as impressive. And he beats those 4 guys, and then he gets a number 1 contender fight against Corey, and then he loses. He loses to Corey, and realistically, Corey should have just stayed at the number 1 ranked, and it should have been a number 1 contender fight, and he should have gone on to fight for the belt. But Corey, being the guy he is, wanted to prove he could beat anybody, and fights Umar and loses, and yeah, it just sent the whole bantamweight division to a different timeline. It was like, I don't know why Corey took that fight, but respect to him for taking it. But back to Chito, it's like he lost to Corey, and then he beat Pedro Munoz, who we all know isn't really the best of fighters, and he's kind of washed. And then he fought O'Malley again, and he got fucking dominated. He got 5-0'd. I didn't think he won a round in that fight. He got pieced up. It was terrible. And the only thing you got to give Chito credit for in that fight is being able to take a punch. Because fuck, bro. That guy is so durable. Even in all these fights, he takes a lot of damage, bro. And he fought Figgy Sense. He took a lot of damage. And, bro, he just constantly gets beat the fuck up and doesn't fall down. So you got to give him respect for that. But overall, I feel like he's been overhyped. I feel like him beating Sean O'Malley back in the day, like, people really thought Chito was this amazing fighter, and then he got humbled in the rematch. And yeah, overall, I just think he's a mid fighter. He's not terrible. He's not great. Yeah, like, I don't think he'll ever win the title, especially with how good the bantamweight's now panning out to be. And yeah, that's why I got him at number 5. At number 4, I got Colby Covington, and I think everybody was expecting him to be on this list because, like, he's known to be the overrated loudmouth of the UFC. Like, he's never been a champ. He was the interim champ when he beat RDA, but, you know, as soon as he fought the real champ in Usman, he got fucked up. He fought him twice and he got KO'd. Like, bro, I don't know. I just feel like he's been overrated. Like, let's go through his whole career. He started in the UFC in 2014. His overall record is 12-5, and he had some good wins in there. But he went on a run to fight for the interim championship against RDA, and he beats RDA, and then he fights the real champ in Usman, loses to Usman twice, and then he goes 2-4 in his last 6. Like, bro, the guy's gotta retire. We just saw him against Buckley, and he got fucked up, bro. Buckley fucked him up. And then before that, he was talking shit to Leon about his dead father, and it was good to see Leon beat him up too. It felt like Leon didn't want to let his hands go and give the guy a chance to take him down or do anything, so Leon was kind of calm, and I felt like Leon could have fucked him up way worse. But either way, bro, Colby needs to give it up. He should retire. He's way overhyped. His fan base are those typical Bryce Mitchell fans, and it's like, bro, he is not entertaining to watch. He's washed, bro, and he's definitely overrated, and he'll never win a belt. He's lucky he got an interim belt, and yeah, let's just leave it at that. At number 3, I got Ben Askren. And Ben Askren, you know, he had a decorated one champion and Bellator career, and everybody thought coming into the UFC he was going to be great. And his first fight was against Robbie Lawler, where we saw the worst ever official call by Herb Dean, where he said Ben Askren had him in a submission, and it wasn't a submission. He didn't tap. There was no submission, and yeah, that was his first one in the UFC. And then since then he went. That wasn't even a win, but we'll give it to him. And then he lost his next 2. One against Jorge Masvidal, which was brutal, the fastest knockout in the UFC history, which I think we all saw the flying knee. And then he lost to Damian Maia right after. So his UFC career was 1-2. And it could have been 0-3, because the Lawler win shouldn't even be a win, but it was. And yeah, Ben Askren, I don't think he ever had what it takes to compete in the UFC. He's definitely overrated, and yeah, no, he deserves to be top 3 100%. Number 2, I got Jorge Masvidal. And Jorge Masvidal, when you look at his overall UFC career, it's been a lot of ups and downs, and you know, his overall record in the UFC is 12-10. Like, that's pretty fucking bad. He's basically losing every other match, and it's like, it's rough, man. He started in 2013, and he fought a bunch of no names. And the real best part of his career was in 2019 when he went on a 3-fight KO win streak against Darren Till, Ben Askren, and Nate Diaz. And that got him the title fight. He got a title fight against Usman, and then he got knocked the fuck out to Usman. And then he had this huge built-up thing against Colby Covington because they were old friends. And then you'd think he'd beat Colby Covington. And then he loses to Colby Covington. And then he lost to Gilbert Burns. And it's like, I'm from Miami, man. I like Masvidal. And, you know, I'm trying not to be biased here, but I thought he had so much more promise than what he showed. And he went out on a low note, not a high note. And him losing to Usman like he did was rough. And then on top of that, he continued to lose against Colby and then Burns. And yeah, man, I feel like Jorge Masvidal, just because of the highs of his career, got so much hype around him, and the Kimbo Slice days, and the way he used to fight and scrap and bare knuckle back in the day in the middle of the streets and just fuck up people. You know, that got him a lot of fans, but overall, his talent never reached, you know, the highs that all the fans had anticipated. And yeah, it's kind of rough, so I kind of had to put him at number 2. And at number 1, I bet a lot of people are curious who I'm going to say here, and it's Bo Nickel, bro. You were probably thinking, why isn't Bo Nickel 10 or 9 or 8? And the reality is, to me, he's the cockiest motherfucker there is on this list. I know Colby Covington's on this list, so that's saying a lot. But, bro, going on this guy's podcast, at least with Colby Covington, he fought the best there were, you know? And with Bo Nickel, he's fought absolutely fucking nobody. Bro, you beat Val Woodburn, congrats. Like, You barely beat Paul Craig, and you didn't even take him on the ground once. You're throwing these these fucking hooks that look like shit. And bro, he's so cocky. Like after the Whitaker Khamzat fight, he's going on a press tour on podcasts talking about how shitty the fight was and how after seeing that fight he'd kill Khamzat. And bro, it's just embarrassing. Like I feel like that guy needed humbling more than anybody, more than Sean O'Malley, more than all the guys on this list. Like bro, he's so fucking cocky. And like I knew when he got paired up against the Ritter that it would be a tough test for him. You know, I thought maybe he could get by with good wrestling, but bro, he didn't. He just, even in the first round when they sprawled and were moving around on the ground, it didn't look like he was all that dominant. And then in the second, he was getting pieced up and those knees to the body, and it looked like he just quit, bro. And Bo Nickel, I'm curious if he even ends up being a top 15 fighter. You know, I thought his ceiling was much higher than it is, and now he's in a terrible position, bro. And it's going to be interesting to see what he does. I feel like he got so much hype from being, you know, a Penn State whatever wrestler, and, you know, he had 3 NCAA national championships, 4 Big Ten conference titles. It's like, good for you, bro. Your wrestling's impressive. You have no striking, you have no jiu-jitsu. This is MMA, bro. This isn't fucking wrestling, and you can't be so fucking cocky when you haven't beaten anybody of note, bro. You took Paul Craig to a decision. You didn't even take him down once, probably because you were scared he'd submit you. You're fucking way too cocky, and it was so satisfying seeing De Ridder humble him. And I think De Ridder's not a bad fighter. I think he's a future top 5 fighter, but I don't think he wins a belt. I don't think he beats Dricus. I don't think he beats Khamzat. I think Izzy and Whitaker are going to be tough tests if he fights them. I know he's fighting Whitaker, and I think that's a perfect matchup. That could have been Bo Nickel. That could have been Bo Nickel versus Whitaker. And apparently Whitaker's shit, so he should have destroyed him. But man, I feel like he needed so much humbling, and he got it. And some people are saying the UFC community is being too rough on Bo Nickel, but he deserves it, bro. Maybe if he wasn't so fucking cocky, nobody would talk shit. But he's so cocky, bro, and yeah, it was just very satisfying seeing him lose, at least to me. I don't know about all you fucking wrestling fans. I've never been a wrestling fan, so I could give a shit. But yeah, overall, I think I did a pretty good job ranking these guys. I think overall, I got Bo Nickel, Jorge Masvidal, Ben Askren, Colby Covington, Chito Vera, Peyton Talbot, Mario Bautista, Carlos Ulberg, Nate Diaz, and Brian Ortega as the top 10 most overrated guys in the UFC. And I'm curious if you guys think I missed a name. There could be some other guys thrown into this conversation, but yeah, what do you guys think? And thank you for watching.